The phone rang for the fifth time when he finally spoke up. "There's a problem with the project. I need to go back to the office." I put down my chopsticks. "You said the same thing last year on our wedding anniversary." "I'm sorry. Next year. I'll definitely spend the anniversary with you." I felt sorry for him, because next year, he wouldn't have the chance to celebrate another wedding anniversary with me. Chapter 1. Samuel has been very busy lately. So busy that he hasn't had time to reply to my messages all day long, which is why he still doesn't know that I have cancer. We dated for 3 years in college and got married right after graduation. At that time, no one believed in us, including my parents, but Samuel knelt down with me in front of them, begging for a chance. They agreed and gave him 5 years, but Samuel only took 3 to achieve small success, and the company he co-founded with his friends continued to grow. Our life improved a lot after moving into a new house. Even my parents' attitude towards him changed. I also thought I had married the right person, so I settled into being a full-time housewife and focused on preparing for pregnancy. The day I sensed something was wrong, Samuel came home drunk and passed out as soon as he hit the bed. He slept soundly, but his phone kept buzzing with new messages. When I pulled out his phone, the screen was still lit up, and a message stood out clearly. "Thank you for celebrating my birthday with me. I'm really happy." Before I could react, another message popped up. "If I told you I regretted it, would you come back to me?" I looked at the name saved in his contacts, and suddenly, I remembered who this person was. In our freshman year, Samuel, as a new student, quickly earned the title of the school heartthrob, handsome, skilled at sports, and admitted as the top student in the college. At the time, I wondered how there could be such a perfect person in the world, so I started observing him out of curiosity, showing up wherever he might appear. It was because of this that Samuel noticed me. One day, he blocked my way to the library, looking me up and down with a smirk and casually said, "Hey, do you have a habit of stalking people?" It was then that I realized, beyond the image others painted of him, he also had an unexpectedly roguish charm. From that day on, I appeared in front of him more openly. When he played basketball, I brought him water. When he went for morning runs, I abandoned my habit of sleeping in and followed him, bundled up in a winter coat. When he participated in debates, I found ways to be in the audience to cheer for him. Later, he blocked my way to the library again, this time seriously asking if I wanted to be his girlfriend. When my friends heard that I was dating Samuel, they all looked at me as if I had won the lottery. I knew many people were waiting to see me fail. Life is unpredictable. No one expected that Samuel and I would make it to the altar. If it hadn't been for the friend request I received on the morning of his birthday, I might never have known that the day Samuel asked me to be his girlfriend, his unforgettable first love was getting engaged abroad. Chapter 2. Samuel came back the next morning, seeing me sitting on the couch. His expression changed slightly. Then he quickly walked over to me. "Why are you up so early?" It wasn't that I got up early. I had been sitting in the living room all night. "Are you done with work?" I asked. A strange look flashed in Samuel's eyes. "Yes, I'm done. Sorry. This won't happen again." He tried to hug me, but I avoided his hand and stood up. "You must be hungry. I'll make you some breakfast." Samuel hesitated to speak but eventually followed me into the kitchen. "I'll help you." Samuel's stomach isn't great. When his company was just starting out, he had to attend social gatherings every day, getting himself drunk each time. Over time, it took a toll on his stomach. The worst incident happened at a dinner where he ended up in the hospital with a stomach hemorrhage from too much drinking. I couldn't bear seeing him neglect his health like this. I mentioned several times that he shouldn't push himself so hard, but he would always promise that he needed to secure more deals so we could live well. And he did it. This house in the city center is something he earned at the expense of his health. That's why I put so much effort into decorating it. After breakfast, Samuel left again, saying he'd come back for dinner. My best friend Alicia called, and the first thing she said was, "Is Samuel home?" "He just left." "Why?" I asked. Alicia seemed hesitant. "Lau, haven't you heard anything about Misty lately?" I responded nonchalantly. "What about her?" Alicia, frustrated, said, "Of course Samuel didn't tell you. Misty got divorced. She's back. And she's even joined Samuel's company. I saw them having dinner together the other day, laughing and chatting. It's outrageous. I tightened my grip on the phone and said casually, "They're old friends. It's normal to catch up." Alicia got a little angry. Everyone knew in college that Misty dumped Samuel. Are you really that confident in him? Of course. I wasn't confident. After all, I still didn't know if Samuel had ever really loved me. Back then, after shamelessly pursuing Samuel for a while, I finally found out that the reason Samuel was always on the basketball court was because he was heartbroken, trying to forget someone who had dumped him, and that's when I seized the opportunity to step into his life. I barely remembered what Alicia said afterward. All I knew was that by evening, Samuel texted me saying the project wasn't finished, so he wouldn't be able to come home for dinner. I sat at the dinner table with 3 dishes and a soup, all Samuel's favorites. When we first graduated, I could even turn a simple dish of scrambled eggs with tomatoes into a disaster. After Samuel had gone hungry a few times, he sighed and said he needed to make more money so we could hire a maid, so I wouldn't have to work so hard. I refused because back then, our combined salaries barely covered rent, utilities, and food. The money we spent on dates was something he carefully saved up. Later, he realized this couldn't continue, so he started a business with his friends. Starting a business required a lot of capital, and our life became even more strained. Samuel started working overtime, attending social events, and even using his weekends to meet with clients. One day, he came home early and was stunned when he saw a table full of delicious food. He stood there for a long time, then silently ate 3 bowls of rice. I sat for a long time, long enough for my legs to go numb, when a message came through on my phone. It was from Samuel. "Sorry, I'll need another 2 hours to finish here. Go to bed. Don't wait for me." The 3 dishes and soup on the table had gone cold. I stood up, took the plates, and dumped all the untouched food into the trash. I took a bath, and maybe I was too exhausted because I ended up falling asleep in the tub. I dreamed of Samuel from our college days, full of confidence, surrounded by admirers, yet he chose me out of all those excellent suitors. When we first got married, I felt like I was living in a dream every day, always clinging to him, listening to him patiently tell me over and over that this wasn't a dream. I told him, "Samuel, if this is a dream, I hope I never wake up." He smiled indulgently and said, "It's not a dream, and it never will be. We'll be together forever." But now, that dream was shattered by him, and I was still stuck in it, struggling. I woke up from the cold. When I opened my eyes, I was still in the tub, and the water had turned icy. I've never been in great health, so I quickly dried off, wrapped myself in a towel, and crawled under the covers. The weather in late autumn wasn't too cold, but for someone with perpetually cold hands and feet like me, it took quite some time to warm up the bed. In the past, Samuel would warm the bed for me, but he wasn't here today. After lying there for 2 hours, I was still cold. Scenes of Samuel being good to me flashed through my mind, and I suddenly had the urge to call him. All these years, whenever he said he was attending a social event, I would trust him unconditionally. I never called or texted to ask anything. But today, the urge to call him grew stronger and stronger. Chapter 3. Before I knew it, I had already dialed his number. The phone rang for a long time without anyone answering, and eventually, it cut off on its own. I sent him a message, "How much longer until you come back?" The message was like a stone sinking into the sea, no response at all. In the middle of the night, I got up to boil some water and soak my feet, finally warming up, but I was no longer sleepy. Sitting on the couch, I suddenly thought of Misty's WeChat. I opened her moments, and sure enough, she had posted an update. The picture showed dishes from a Chinese restaurant, and she wrote, "After all these years, only you still remember what I like. Thank you for keeping me company while I worked overtime and for taking me to eat the Chinese food I've been craving for so long." For some reason, my stomach churned, and I ran to the bathroom to vomit. But after all that retching, nothing came out. The doctor said if I didn't start chemotherapy soon, I might not last more than 3 months. He urged me to find time for treatment as soon as possible. I made up an excuse to delay it. The doctor listed many consequences, But all I could summarize was this: chemotherapy couldn't cure my illness. After leaving the hospital, I bought a chestnut cake and went to Samuel's office. Samuel's assistant seemed surprised to see me and a little flustered. "Sis-in-law, what brings you here?" I smiled. "I was just passing by, so I thought I'd drop in." The assistant glanced at the cake in my hand. "Oh, you brought Mr. Liu's favorite. I'll call him for you." "No need. I'll go myself." The assistant seemed like she wanted to stop me, but it was too late. I pushed the door open and saw Samuel and Misty sitting side by side at the desk. On Samuel's face was a smile I had never seen before, one of genuine happiness. Misty was still as beautiful as ever. They said something to each other, and Misty laughed brightly. I didn't want to disturb them, but my legs were so sore that I walked over to the couch and sat down. I must have interrupted them because they both turned to look at me. I clearly saw a flash of panic on Samuel's face. He got up abruptly and strode over to me. "Why are you here? Why didn't you call me first?" I handed him the cake. "I just happened to be nearby, so I thought I'd stop by." Here, the line wasn't long today. "Samuel loves chestnut cake. I've known this since college, and he only eats cake from this one bakery." Samuel hesitated for a few seconds before taking the cake. "Next time, don't buy it. Just get something you like." He casually placed the cake on the desk, took my hand, and started leading me outside. "You haven't eaten yet, have you? Let's go eat." We had only taken a few steps when Misty's voice came from behind. "Sam." "Mr. Liu, I like chestnut cake too. If you're going out, can I have this?" I could clearly feel Samuel stiffen. Then he turned to look at me. Before he could say anything, I smiled and said, "So Miss Lee likes chestnut cake too?" Misty replied, "Yes. This bakery's chestnut cake is especially good. It's the only one I ate back in school." Chapter 4. We didn't end up having dinner because Samuel noticed I didn't look well and took me home. As he opened the door, he hugged me from behind. "There's nothing going on between us. I wouldn't have married you otherwise. Lao, do you believe me?" I didn't answer his question and instead asked, "Would you lie to me?" "No, I wouldn't lie to you." I softened, wanting only to spend my remaining days in peace with him, so I changed the subject. Samuel didn't go to the office that day. He stayed home, personally taking care of everything. When the lights went out, he pulled me into his arms, but I instinctively pushed him away. "Not today." Samuel paused. Then his tone shifted slightly. "Are you still mad?" "I'm not. Yes. I like chestnut cake because of her, but nothing is going on between us now." "Do you really need to be so bothered by it?" It felt like a bucket of cold water had been poured over me, chilling me to the bone. "Samuel, you didn't need to tell me. I had already convinced myself it was just a coincidence. You didn't need to explain. Or, are you explaining because you feel guilty?" I was still in Samuel's arms, and I could feel his entire body tense up instantly. After several minutes of silence, I got out of bed. Samuel grabbed my hand, his voice a little panicked. "Where are you going?" "I'm going to the guest room, Lao. Let's just cool off for a bit." I lay in the guest room, tossing and turning, unable to sleep, my mind replaying the scene of Samuel and Misty sitting together. I didn't fall asleep until dawn. When I opened the door, I bumped into something, startled. I took several steps back before hearing a voice from outside. "It's me, Lao." I turned on the light and saw Samuel leaning against the wall, his long legs stretched casually across the guest room doorway. What I had tripped over was his foot. "Why are you sitting here?" Samuel's voice was hoarse. "I was afraid you'd leave." "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have spoken to you like that." "I'm fine. Don't worry about it." Seeing me come out, Samuel stood up and followed me. "What do you want to eat?" "I'll make you something." I shook my head, grabbed my bag, and headed for the door. "I'm going for a walk. You should get some sleep. You've got work later." Samuel didn't let go of my hand, and with a bit of force, he pulled me into his arms. He held me tightly. "Lao, don't ignore me. I haven't done anything to betray you. We're just co-workers. That's all. Co-workers who sit together at your desk, laughing that happily?" Samuel held me even tighter. We're just coworkers, nothing more. Yesterday was a mistake. It was after work hours anyway. I pushed him away. So, after work, coworkers can get that close? Samuel probably had never seen me like this before. He stared at me, dumbfounded, for a long time before rubbing his temples. If you don't like her, I'll fire her. I didn't want to come off as too aggressive, so I didn't say anything more. I thought Samuel was only saying that to appease me. But a few days later, Misty stopped me outside my apartment. Chapter 5. Laura, can we talk? I refused. There's nothing to talk about. You're scared, aren't you? Misty smiled. Because I'm working with Samuel. You're afraid you won't be able to keep him, so you had him fire me. I was a bit surprised and also confused. Did Samuel really fire Misty because of me? That didn't seem like something he would do. I quickly composed myself and said, I don't interfere in company matters. If you have questions, you should ask him. Misty gave me a meaningful smile. Well, you've given me permission, Laura. Let's see who's really most important to him. I found her tiresome, but at the same time, I couldn't stop myself from wanting to know the outcome. But I didn't expect Misty to act so quickly. In the evening, Samuel texted me saying he'd be home for dinner, but by 8 o'clock, he messaged again saying something urgent had come up, and he couldn't make it. I asked him what time he'd be back, but he didn't reply. My instincts told me it wasn't just a last-minute issue, so I called him. When I heard the automated message, I wasn't suspicious, just worried. This had happened before during his business dinners, and his colleagues would end up taking him home. The next day, I asked him why he didn't answer his phone or respond to messages. He had stared at his phone for a long time before telling me the battery had died. After that incident, he promised me that he would always respond and never ignore my calls. But now, it was happening more and more often, and Samuel seemed to have forgotten his promise to me. I was about to throw my phone aside when a WeChat message came through. It was a video from Misty. She had her arms wrapped around Samuel's neck, kissing him, while Samuel stood there with his hands in his pockets, looking at her fondly, letting her do as she pleased. I thought I would break down at that moment, but I didn't. Instead, I watched the video over and over, like some kind of self-inflicted torture. Then, I calmly put my phone away, pulled out a suitcase, and started packing. This house was bought by Samuel, and when we purchased it, he had only put my name on the deed. He had also left all the decorating decisions to me. As I looked at the cozy little home I had meticulously put together, I only packed a few clothes. Taking anything else would just add unnecessary burdens. It was better to leave it all behind. Before I left, I sprayed the perfume he had given me in every corner of the house. I was gambling that he had once loved me. Chapter 6. I brought my suitcase back to my parents' house. Waking them up in the middle of the night, they anxiously asked if I had a fight with Samuel. It was only then that I realized I shouldn't have come back. But what could I do? I missed them so much. When they found out I hadn't eaten, my mother, grumbling all the while, made me a bowl of noodle soup. The familiar taste stung my eyes. Where's Samuel? How could he let you come back alone in the middle of the night? What if something had happened? I sighed. Mom, I'm not a child anymore. I just missed you both and decided to come home. Really? Really? My parents exchanged a glance and finally believed me, insisting I stay for a few days before leaving again. I agreed. In the middle of the night, half asleep, I heard voices outside. Listening carefully, I realized it was Samuel's voice. I opened the door and walked out. My mom was still muttering. Young couples always fight, but letting her come back alone in the middle of the night isn't right. Samuel, when we gave our daughter to you, it wasn't for you to treat her like this. Samuel's tone was respectful as he repeatedly promised to take good care of me. When my mom saw me come out, she stopped talking. It's late. You both should stay here for the night. Going back and forth now would take until morning. My mom returned to her room, and I turned back toward mine. Samuel followed me in. Lau, it's too late. Let's talk tomorrow. I'm sorry. So much has been happening lately, but once things calm down, I'll make it up to you. I promise. I turned to face him. Samuel, Did you really work overtime today? Samuel's expression didn't change. What else could I have been doing? Lau. What's going on? Is it the pressure of trying to have a baby? If you're feeling overwhelmed, we don't have to have kids. If it weren't for that video, I might have believed him. I wanted to say something when I noticed a hickey on his neck. And suddenly, I felt the blood rush in reverse through my veins. I never left such blatant marks on him. But now, he had allowed another woman to leave them on his body. He hadn't even noticed the lipstick stain on his collar. Looking at him, still so determined in his lies, I suddenly felt like all my efforts had been in vain. Let's divorce. Samuel, we should get a divorce. Samuel's face first showed disbelief, then darkened. Laura, what are you talking about? Haven't I been good enough to you? Just because I've been too busy to spend time with you, you want a divorce? I massaged my temples, which were throbbing. Samuel, there's a lipstick stain on your collar, and I don't wear that shade. Samuel's expression shifted, but after a quick glance at his collar, he said, I've explained this to you before. It's just part of socializing at business dinners. You want a divorce? Fine, let's get a divorce. We'll go first thing in the morning. Exhausted, I replied. All right. Tomorrow morning at 9, I'll meet you at the Civil Affairs office. Samuel stormed out, slamming the door behind him. He didn't come back that night. The next morning, I made an excuse to leave the house and went to the Civil Affairs office early. Samuel didn't show up. Instead, I got a call from Alicia. Laura, where the hell are you? What's going on? Alicia's voice was so full of anger I thought she might explode. Do you know who I just saw in the OBGYN ward? Samuel and that little tramp Misty. I was stunned for a moment. What were they doing there? Alicia took a deep breath, trying to calm down, but I could still hear the fury in her voice. Misty's pregnant. I snuck a look at her records. In the father's section, it says Samuel, Chapter 7. I returned to the house I shared with Samuel, but he wasn't back yet. Everything in the house was just as I had left it. Even the slippers by the entryway hadn't been touched. Samuel hadn't come back the night before. I went into the bedroom, took out Samuel's suitcase, and began packing his things. All of Samuel's clothes were ones I had bought for him. He didn't even know that I had carefully embroidered his name into each collar. As I packed, I found a small box in Samuel's closet. Curiosity got the better of me, and I opened it, probably the biggest mistake I ever made. Inside the box was a phone and a wedding photo with a red background. But the woman in the photo wasn't me. It was Samuel and Misty. In the photo, they were both smiling sweetly, with the date written on the back. It was the day before Samuel and I got together. Everyone knew how shamelessly I had chased Samuel. All my friends did, even when they told me Samuel was still in contact with Misty. I didn't believe them. I had seen Misty holding the arm of an older man, getting into a luxury car Samuel could never afford. Just 2 days before Samuel agreed to be with me, I had seen Misty get out of that car at the school gate. To me, Samuel and Misty were over. People whispered that Misty had played Samuel, but now I realized that the one being played was me. I put the photo back and turned on the phone. The battery was fully charged. With trembling hands, I opened WeChat and saw there was only one contact, Misty. I scrolled through their chat history, torturing myself, discovering that on what seemed like ordinary days, Samuel had been reminiscing with Misty about their anniversaries. The photo gallery was full of pictures and videos of Misty. The most recent one was a photo of her in his office, wearing her work badge. So, he really never loved me. Samuel returned home in the evening, clearly not expecting to see me. He froze at the door. I was about to speak when I heard Misty's voice behind him. Samuel, why aren't you going in? Samuel's face paled. He seemed to want to say something but didn't know where to start. Without expression, I pushed his suitcase toward him. I've packed your things. If anything's missing, you can grab it yourself. Samuel's face darkened. What's this supposed to mean? We're getting a divorce. I handed him the divorce agreement. I don't want anything but this house. Samuel didn't take it. Are you serious? Looking at his serious expression, I suddenly laughed. You've already brought her here, so why pretend anymore? Samuel, you're disgusting. I only brought her because Because you're going to let her stay here and take care of her during the pregnancy, right? Samuel's face turned deathly pale. His fists clenched, but he had no words to refute. Misty stepped forward, boldly taking Samuel's arm. Since we're being honest, let's lay it all out. Laura, I'm pregnant with Samuel's child. He wants a baby, but you haven't been able to give him one. You can't be selfish and deprive him of having a family. You're the one who should leave. My hands clenched into fists at my sides, nails digging into my skin. The pain kept me grounded in reality. This house is in my name. It's my house. What right do you have to ask me to leave? And why not? Samuel bought this house. So, you're saying I should split the house with him? Maybe even half of his company too? That could be arranged. Enough! Samuel interrupted, grabbing his suitcase and leaving without another word. You two need to calm down. Misty glared at me angrily, but in the end, she left as well. When the door slammed shut, I collapsed to the floor, exhausted. All the resentment, anger, and injustice I had felt came pouring out in tears, and I allowed myself to cry until I couldn't anymore. The next day, I went to a lawyer and made my will. Misty had taken the divorce papers with her. She'd make sure Samuel signed them. My lawyer would handle the rest. I stayed at my parents' house for 2 days, then packed my suitcase and went to a secluded place where I planned to spend the last days of my life in peace. But I didn't expect things to turn out the way they did. Chapter 8. Alicia called me, asking why I had put the house up for sale. I didn't understand what she meant until she said she saw my house listed with a real estate agent. That's when I realized what had happened. I packed my things and returned to the house. Inside, Samuel and Misty were showing the place to potential buyers. I overheard Misty saying, "This home was decorated bit by me and my husband. If it weren't for the baby and the inconvenience of staying here, we wouldn't be selling it. The price can't go any lower. It's a school district house with room for appreciation. Plus, it's only been 5 years since the renovation, so it's a great deal." The buyers seemed convinced. They had agreed on a price and were about to sign the contract. But when they turned around, they saw me standing at the door. Samuel, stunned, turned pale and hurried toward me, pulling me aside. "Let's talk over there." I shook off his hand. "Did you ask for my permission before selling my house?" Misty stepped out, her flat stomach noticeable as she looked at me. "Laura, this is joint property. He has the right to handle it." I ignored Misty and looked directly at the young couple. "I see you're buying this house for your child's schooling, right? Well, the property deed is in my name. If I don't agree to transfer the title, would you still buy it?" The couple quickly turned and walked away. Despite Misty calling after them, they didn't look back, speeding up as if they were running from a monster. Misty was livid, shouting at me, "Are you crazy, Laura? You don't even live here. Why not just let me sell it?" My whole body ached, and I barely had the strength to speak. I looked coldly at Samuel. "Take her and get out of my house. Don't dirty my space." Misty tried to argue, but Samuel stopped her. "We need to talk about the house. It's our marital property, so half of it is mine. I can compensate you in cash." I smirked. "How much can you give me?" $1 million. I laughed. This school district house was purchased early, and the price had been rising steadily. Just last month, it had hit 31,000 yuan per square meter for a 130 square meter house. He was only offering me 1 million. When I didn't respond, Samuel frowned and said, "I'll also split our savings with you, but this house, get out." I pressed the 3 digits on my phone. "You'd better leave right now. I've called the police." Misty wanted to step forward and argue, but Samuel held her back, his face dark. "Is this really necessary? All you care about is money?" My vision darkened as I grabbed a feather duster and waved it wildly. "Get out! Get out of my house! Get out!" Samuel shielded Misty as he led her outside. He looked at me, disappointed. "Think about this carefully. I'll come back tomorrow." I slammed the door in his face, but the intense emotions left me dizzy. I groped my way to the sofa, dialing Alicia's number. As soon as she picked up, I lost consciousness. Chapter 9. When I opened my eyes again, I saw Alicia. Her eyes were swollen like walnuts, and when she saw me awake, She started crying again. I sighed. So, you know? Alicia wasn't one to cry, but now she was sobbing so hard she couldn't speak. I quietly waited for her to finish. My thoughts drifted to a day early in our marriage when I had fainted outside the bathroom. That day, Samuel was working late. He later told me I must have been lying on the floor for over an hour before he found me and rushed me to the hospital. At the time, I was only diagnosed with low blood sugar. When the doctor gave the results, Samuel frowned as if faced with an enormous problem. I had joked with him then, "Samuel, if I die before you, you'd better find someone to take care of you." Samuel's eyes flashed with fear I had never seen before. He scolded me, "Don't talk nonsense. You're perfectly healthy. How could anything like that happen?" I think, in that moment, Samuel must have loved me. His fear and anxiety weren't an act. Alicia finally stopped crying and asked, "Does Samuel know?" "No, he doesn't. We're divorced." "What?" Alicia's face turned green with rage. "That heartless bastard. How could he divorce you at a time like this? Does he even have a soul?" I was silent for a moment before speaking. "Misty is pregnant. They listed the house for sale without my consent." Alicia's fists clenched, her knuckles cracking. "I'm going to confront him." "Don't, Ollie. It's pointless. Even if they aren't together now, they'll end up together after I'm gone. If I try to stop them, they'll only resent me. It's better to just let them have each other." But letting them be together doesn't mean they'll live happily ever after, especially after I'm gone. I admit I'm being selfish, but I gave him a chance. Alicia was still fuming. "Don't try to stop me. I want to see how that scumbag can abandon his sick wife for his mistress. Does he have any morals left?" "Ollie, calm down. I know you mean well, but going there won't help. I have less than 3 months left. Even if I get the house, my parents won't live in it." Alicia finally calmed down, but she was still frustrated. "But you can't just let the mistress have it all. That's why I need your help. I want to secure my assets and transfer them to your name. Afterward, I'll need you to take care of my parents." Alicia was about to refuse, but I explained, "I don't want my parents to know about my illness. I'll tell them I'm traveling, and I've already recorded a bunch of videos for you to send to them later. As for the divorce settlement, please send them a bit of money each month. My parents are getting old. They wouldn't be able to handle the truth, and I couldn't think of a better way to tell them. I could only let them find out gradually." Alicia started crying again. "Why is life so unfair? Why do you have to go through this while those two despicable people get to live freely? I guess this is just fate." After leaving the hospital, I called Samuel and asked to meet to finalize the division of assets. Samuel had an affair with Misty during our marriage, so I demanded that he leave with nothing. What I didn't expect was that Samuel agreed without hesitation. The asset division was completed, and the cooling-off period for the divorce had also passed. After receiving the divorce certificate, Samuel and I walked to the entrance. Misty was waiting at the door. Seeing the divorce certificate in Samuel's hand, she immediately hooked her arm around his and walked into the civil affairs office. "Honey, let's get our marriage certificate now." Alicia, who had come with me, mocked them. "How convenient. Your future wedding anniversary will also be the same day as your husband's divorce from his ex-wife. Doesn't that make you cringe?" Misty froze, unsure whether to enter or leave. Alicia was delighted. She linked arms with me, walking away in high spirits. After arranging everything, I put on some makeup to make myself look as healthy as ever, then returned home. My parents were happy to see me, smiling as they cooked a meal with all my favorite dishes. But the pain in my body had made everything tasteless. I told them I had decided to take a job out of town and might not return for a long time. They looked at me with pride in their eyes. "You should have gone back to work ages ago. Spending your life revolving around one man isn't worth the years we invested in raising you." My eyes burned with tears, and I silently cursed myself for realizing it too late. After saying goodbye to my parents, I took a taxi to the airport. Alicia was already there, waiting with open arms. "Come on, let me walk with you to the end of this journey." Chapter 10. Epilogue. Alicia. 3 days after returning from abroad, Samuel stopped me at the entrance of my neighborhood. "Where is she?" The hatred in my eyes could have burned him alive on the spot. "Your mistress? Haven't seen her." Samuel rubbed his forehead. Where's Lau? I haven't been able to reach her lately. Why are you trying to contact her? Samuel, aren't you married now? What are you looking for Lau for? Do you want to repeat the past? I spoke harshly, and the veins on Samuel's forehead bulged. What surprised me was that he didn't lose his temper. Instead, he said, I have something important to discuss with her. Please ask her to contact me. I cursed under my breath and hailed a cab, giving the driver an address. Halfway there, I noticed Samuel's car following behind. The urge to retaliate surged within me. I wanted nothing more than to get out of the car, grab him by the collar, and demand to know how he had the nerve to follow me. But I held back until we arrived. I stood by the roadside, waiting for Samuel to approach. He probably hadn't expected me to come to this place. When he saw me waiting for him, he had no choice but to drive over. I smiled sweetly. Samuel, you want to see Lau? I'll take you to her. She's just up there. You'll see her soon. Samuel glanced at the cemetery and didn't believe me for a second. Is this some kind of prank? Alicia? We've known each other for years. Can't you help me convince her to see me? Ha. I've brought you here to see her, and you don't believe me. Is that my fault? Samuel frowned. Alicia, there's a limit to jokes. The anger I had been suppressing erupted. A joke? Who's joking with you? I'm telling you, Lau is dead. She died on the anniversary of your wedding. I brought her ashes back. She's right up there. You can choose not to believe me, but you can't deny the truth. Samuel looked at me with disbelief. I had no desire to continue talking to him and started walking up the hill. In her final days, I was the only one by Laura's side. She passed peacefully in my arms, free from pain forever, while I mourned the loss of my closest friend. I also felt a sense of relief for her. She no longer had to suffer. No more pain would haunt her. As I stood by Laura's grave, I was yanked aside. Samuel stared at the photo on the tombstone, muttering it's impossible over and over again. Seeing him like this gave me a sense of grim satisfaction. See? Samuel, she didn't even want to see you before she died. The last time she saw you was at the Civil Affairs office. What were you doing then? You were marrying Misty in front of her, right after signing the divorce papers with her. Samuel, why do you think she would want to see you? What right do you have to come here? It's impossible. Lau wouldn't. Yeah. How could she die? How could her own husband not even notice she had cancer? Samuel, did you know that while she was in unbearable pain, you two were sending her photos of your happy life together? She was still looking at your wedding certificate with that woman before she died. She said you never smiled at her like that. Samuel, why don't you go to hell? You're the one who should be there. I didn't. I never sent her those photos. I laughed bitterly. Those photos could only come from the two of you. If it wasn't you, then who? I watched as the color drained from his face, and for the first time in a long time, I felt a small sense of justice. But this was nothing compared to the pain Lau endured. Samuel left. It took him over 10 minutes to stumble from Laura's grave to his car, a distance of just a few dozen meters. I wiped away the spots on Laura's tombstone that Samuel had touched. As I did, the tears started to flow uncontrollably. Lau, we're going home now. I've cleaned the places Samuel touched. He won't taint your next life. Lau, you've endured all the suffering in this life. In the next, you'll meet a man whose eyes are filled only with you. Don't worry. Your parents are my parents now. I'll take good care of them. Chapter 11 Samuel's Epilogue. When Alicia told me Lau was dead, my first reaction was to think she was joking. But then Alicia showed me Laura's death certificate, and I had no choice but to believe it. I don't even remember how I got back to what used to be my home with Laura. After the divorce, Laura had listed the house for sale. I found out through the real estate agent and, in a moment of madness, secretly bought it back, not even daring to let her know that the buyer was me. Maybe it was out of guilt, or maybe it was because of the hidden feelings for Laura that even I hadn't fully realized. The house was no longer the carefully arranged home she had created. All traces of her had been erased when she decided to sell it. I wandered back to what was now my home. Misty was lying on the couch, playing games. When she heard the door open, she didn't even look up. Why are you back so early today? I stood in the entryway, looking at the disheveled, unkempt woman in front of me. When she didn't hear a response, she finally looked up at me. What are you standing there for? Go make dinner. What if you starve me and the baby? As she spoke, she rubbed her swollen belly. Suddenly, Laura came to my mind. Laura always spoke to me in a gentle tone, her bright almond-shaped eyes shining. She never ordered me around or threatened me. The only time she did was that day when she almost broke down and told me to get out. Thinking of that scene made my throat go dry. Laura. I didn't get to finish before Misty sat up, her voice sharp. You went to see Laura? What are you seeing her for? Are you still not over her? Samuel, don't forget. You were the one who came after me. She was the one who wanted the divorce. So what now? What's your deal? I looked at Misty and felt like she was a stranger. We had only been married 3 months, and Misty's temper was getting worse by the day. Ever since I had found some of Laura's old things, her emotions had been out of control. At first, I thought it was just mood swings from the pregnancy, so I tried to accommodate her. But now, I didn't understand her at all. You're being too sensitive. I'll stay at the office for a few days. You need to calm down. I turned to go pack my things. Misty followed me into the bedroom, demanding, "Why are you staying at the office? You're not going to the office. You're going to see Laura, aren't you? You think I don't know you've been looking for her lately?" I knew Laura wouldn't let go so easily. She's definitely still trying to get something from you. Enough. The image of Laura's smiling face on that cold tombstone flashed in my mind, and a wave of pain washed over me. Laura, she's already dead. What could she possibly want from you? While she was suffering, you were still sending her pictures of us. How could you be so cruel? What? She's dead? Misty was momentarily stunned. Then she laughed. Good. Why should I care that she's dead? Samuel, she has nothing to do with you anymore. Now that she's dead, she's even less of a concern. I didn't understand how the once gentle Misty could say such heartless and vile things. I stared at her like she was a stranger, but Misty was lost in her own emotions. How did she die? Was it painful? Did she? Smack! I couldn't hold back, and I slapped her. On the way back, I had done my research. From the day Misty started working at the company, she had been sending Laura pictures, and several times, Laura had tried calling me, but Misty had hung up. Laura was such a kind and beautiful person. How could Misty hurt her like that? Misty fell silent for a moment before exploding again. Are you crazy? Why did you hit me? Her death has nothing to do with me. You two were already divorced. I'm your legal wife now. Crash. The ceramic jar I had just packed in my suitcase shattered on the floor, and its contents spilled out. It was Misty's diagnosis. My hands trembled as I picked it up and saw the date of the diagnosis, the day she started working at the company. I clenched my fists, the veins on the back of my hands bulging. That day, I hadn't come home at all. I had spent the night with Misty at a hotel, and that's when the baby was conceived. Laura had called me several times that night, but I didn't pick up. After that, I couldn't look her in the eye without feeling guilty, so I started coming home later and later, with Misty always by my side at work. The guilt I had for Laura gradually faded away. I often wondered, if Laura had made a scene back then, would I have come to my senses and tried to make things work with her? But there were no what-ifs anymore. Ignoring Misty's protests, I went to a hotel and stayed there for half a month. When Misty found me, I just gave her a cold look and kept drinking. Judging by the shock in her eyes, I could guess how I looked. I hadn't shaved in 2 weeks, and I'd been living in a drunken stupor. How good could I have looked? Misty carefully stepped around the scattered bottles on the floor and came to stand in front of me, her voice angry. Who are you trying to impress with this? Samuel, Laura is dead. Can't you get a grip? How can you let yourself fall apart over someone who's no longer here? What about the company? Breathing became painful. Every time I thought about those days I spent with Misty while Laura was alone in a cold, empty house, I felt like ripping my heart out to see if it had turned black. She didn't scream or cry when we divorced, but Misty still sent her photos to hurt her. How devastated must she have been? I found out that in the end, when the pain became unbearable, Laura had taken sleeping pills to end her life. She was always so afraid of pain. She used to cry in my arms whenever she got the smallest cut. How much must she have suffered in her final days? And what was I doing? I had let Misty throw out all of Laura's belongings and erase all traces of her from her home. She hadn't left me anything to remember her by. When I remembered that she had left some things with me, I stumbled as I tried to get up. Before I could steady myself, I fell again, completely pathetic. I reached out my hand toward Misty, but all I saw on her face was undisguised disgust. Then I heard Misty say, "The company is getting worse every day. You have nothing left. Samuel, I was blind to think you were worth something." Her words hit me like a brick. What did you say? Misty didn't respond. Instead, she turned toward the door and waved. I followed her gaze and saw her ex-husband standing there. My scalp tingled with a sudden rush of dread. Misty clung to his arm. "Samuel, I don't want you anymore. Divorce me. I'll take 2/3 of your assets. And from now on, we'll have nothing to do with each other." I couldn't understand. You too. Her ex-husband sneered. "Misty, you said he was a promising investment, but all I see is a useless coward. Let's take his assets and go home to have a son." I looked at Misty's belly, and a ridiculous thought crossed my mind. Her ex-husband answered my unspoken question. "Yes, the baby is mine. You and Misty never had anything between you. Did you really think I'd let you touch my woman?" I ran into some financial issues with my business and didn't have enough capital to recover. Misty came up with the plan, and our son arrived at just the right time. We figured we might as well go all the way. "So, Samuel, just hand over your company. Otherwise, I'll make sure everyone knows how you abandoned your seriously ill wife." My mind went blank. By the time I came to my senses, Misty was already rummaging through my briefcase. Watching them, I suddenly started laughing. Misty looked at me warily. "What are you laughing at?" "Misty, I really misjudged you. But since we're married now, don't think about getting divorced. You destroyed my family, so you won't have a peaceful life either. If we're all rotten, let's go to hell together." Misty's expression turned frantic. "What are you planning?" "I won't divorce you. If I have to suffer, we'll suffer together. You think that just because you won't divorce me, I can't file for one? As long as I claim that our relationship is broken beyond repair, I'll just have to wait through the cooling off period, and I'll be free." I grinned. "Our relationship is so good. How could it possibly be broken beyond repair?" "Misty, we have a child now. Even if the child is born and you admit to having an affair, I still won't divorce you. You'll be tied to me and the child forever." Misty had never seen this side of me before. She retreated into her ex-husband's arms, her face turning pale with fear. "You're crazy. You've completely lost it." "Yes, I've gone mad. But Misty, you're my wife. I've never hurt you, and I still love you. No judge will grant us a divorce." Her ex-husband yelled. "The child in her belly is mine. We both want to remarry. How can the court not approve?" I calmly explained. "Remember how you faked evidence of domestic violence so you could get a quick divorce? If I submit those documents to the court, they'll side with me to protect my wife and child. Isn't that right, Misty?" Misty was so terrified that her legs gave out. She trembled, unable to speak. I stood up, walked over to her, and smiled gently. "Let's go home, dear. The smell of alcohol here isn't good for the baby." In the days that followed, Misty and her ex-husband repeatedly tried to get me to divorce her. They even took it to court. Misty stood before the judge and confessed to her affair, asking for a divorce. But each time, I looked at her lovingly and gently reassured her. "Don't be like that, darling. I love you so much. How could I ever divorce you? I treat you so well. I'm sure you'll come around. After all, life is long." Misty and her ex-husband had no evidence to prove I had wronged her. On top of that, the judge could see how well I treated her. We never managed to get divorced. 6 months later, when Misty was lying on her deathbed after giving birth, barely clinging to life, I held the newborn child in my arms and went to Laura's grave. "Lau, can you see? This child doesn't look anything like me." If I had realized earlier that nothing ever happened between Misty and me, would I have had a chance? A chance to walk with you through the end? "Lau, I miss you. I really, really miss you." After Misty and I finish tormenting each other for the rest of our lives, I'll come down to make amends with you. Lol. Wait for me.